Alright, cool. Well, that hopefully should be working. But what's going on, everyone? We're going to do an overclocking episode. You can kind of see that I already have the Ryzen stuff. We'll go ahead and jump over here. Already opened. And one of the things that we're going to be looking at is just seeing if it can still perform pretty well. I've been hearing a lot of feedback from NVIDIA's driver being kind of crap and some installation problems with like AMD's. So it seems like both drivers were pretty much kind of garbage. But we can get our default test. We already know that it's going to roughly be rocking around about 2100, give or take. Anything below that's kind of like trashy in my personal opinion. But we'll start with an overclock by itself. That way we can kind of see where the clock of the card naturally wants to go. That way we can kind of see if people were just clicking this button, how is it working? Then I'll break down mine, the ones that I've actually gotten. So I think that's pretty low, but that's a consistent low, where that will probably be really, really good. Hey, what's up? Zinks. For as far as consistent gameplay, I would say honestly, if you're trying to do gameplay, I mean, 19 bands to like in that mid range is probably going to be kind of good, just because you don't want to have it too crazy. So let's go ahead and shut that down, and we'll run some fire strikes and a time spy, and then we'll match those up between each other and see what's going down. I'm pretty excited to see like what ends up happening in October. Like we're trickling near that, and the new Zen architecture is almost on our freaking like doorstep, which is kind of cool. I'm very interested to see how AMD is gonna confront with Intel pushing forward and other things. For as far as now we have Nvidia, they bought ARM for $40 billion just to, well, start making processors, which I thought was really interesting. It's more the point to the, I suppose, where the future is going to be. And I do think that there is going to be Team Blue, Team Green, and Team Red builds, which are really cool. So we'll all have just unified builds, which will be kind of cool because it'll be more like a car built from the same manufacturer rather than if you got a Volvo and it was all pieced together by like random people. You'd be like, wait, what the heck? Alright, so far this is pretty good. I mean, you're getting like your top 100s. I mean, for the Radeon 7 card, it wasn't meant to be a gaming card, and I'm glad everyone kind of blew that up, because when they first announced it, when it was like back in the day, I think it was like CES a few years back, they had announced it as a gaming card, and then like right before it launched, they were like, oh yeah, it's a creator's card, and I was like, oh, score for me because I'm a creator, so this worked really well. But for a lot of people trying to get 4K and just honestly what it was advertised for, it was more of a, I suppose, letdown in that situation. But we'll see. For as far as the fine wine, like that's the one thing I do like about AMD is they do have an aging process, which tends to come down to a pretty good like finite detail, which I thought was pretty cool. You can get a lot of good performance for as far as what happens. Now the tests in general, I do like these ones over, what was it? I used to do Cinebench, which was pretty decent. Ah, you can hear the Radeon card in the background. Loud little bugger. But you can make the fans. That's another reason why I kind of wanted to test it native in the overclocked, was because they had the save profiles for the fans. Because that was one of the biggest annoying things, was if the computer had an issue, it wasn't like or EVGA and their I guess connect between like a lot of cool stuff. It just wasn't working that well, which was kind of a bummer. But we'll see what ends up happening for the near future. Hopefully things will pan out just right. Alright, we're coming out towards the very end of this test, and we should hopefully be able to push forward into Time Spy, just to see like what its native point. Like my guess would be above 22. I mean, like that would be like something pretty nice, but it might be a little bit lower than that. If I had to take a wild guess, it's probably gonna be 21 and a half. So let's see and see what ends up happening here. Oh, cool. Right, exactly what I guessed, 21 and a half. Which is pretty good to see like the overclocking, and that's kind of like where we got with the advanced scheduling. When some of the first tests would finally like hit, where it's like almost natively over trying to overclock and calibrate itself. And I think that's what ends up happening, is it kind of finds a median, and it's just like, okay, well I can naturally do this because it wants to leave overhead room for people like overclocking and not having a crash, because it's such an interesting system. The advanced scheduling for the hardware is probably one of the more, I feel, finicky things nowadays, unfortunately. But come on, Time Spy, you can load, you can do it. You know, I just need a Frenchman right about now. 2 years later. I do like this whole like graphic. I'm hoping that like maybe 3D Mark eventually will kind of upgrade the tests that they have, since now we have the 30 series coming and Big Navi with the 6000 series. It's going to be more of an interesting situation to see if these tests are just like archived as like the bottom feeders. So like, you know, this is your basic entry stuff. If we can run this, then you're good. I still think that thing looks like a damn Pokeball in the background. It's like that blimp. Ah, the fans. Anytime there's turning, that is like when it's creating like the eyesight and disappearing. So it's such an interesting thing. One of the cooler things that I think AMD is going to be doing in the future is probably going to be advanced accelerated hard drives. I feel like SSD is going to be like the next turning point, while technology bridges the gap to where we end up going. Because I mean, like, you got to figure the next 2 years is going to be insane for graphics and CPUs. So I feel like the next hurdle in between that time, what they can do is definitely, if they can speed up memory again, well, that's another like life send, the way you can compute and send stuff. I mean, it's pretty cool. So let's see, what will we end up scoring with this one? If I remember correct, the average score running with this is normally 12,000. I want to say. I'm thinking. I might not be right. Ran these like a few times, not a lot. Let's see here. We should be coming towards the end right here, and then I think this is when we end up going to that. I think it's a physics test. That weird matrix thing, which is pretty fun. Oh, on a side note, though, I thought that was very interesting is that we've been seeing a lot of cooler stuff from NVIDIA, and I guess a different tangent away from AMD, that they have been working with a community of people that ended up buying out the 3080s, which I thought was hilarious. That like, I mean, it's not hilarious, but it is kind of hilarious a little bit. That like someone used a Nike app in order to buy out a majority of them, and like Nvidia has to basically wait for the online orders for like November or October or something around there. Saying, I was like, that's so freaking ridiculous, but it is hilarious. So you basically go to a real store like a Micro Center or a Best Buy to buy these. It makes me wonder if they have them at my local Best Buy. Okay, so not bad. I mean, I feel like we could have did better, but let's go ahead and do my overclock. We can do the back to back and see how it looks. And then people can kind of see like what I end up doing for as far as that. First things first, fans right out the bat, and change that architecture. So personally, me, I like lying like right about here, and then just tilting it down, bringing that up a little bit, and then bringing that and reforming it. That way it has more of an accelerator, and I just bring this up just a little bit. Oh, it almost looks like a dang bell housing from a damn transmission. So that's good enough. I'm going to go ahead and apply it. You'll probably hear the fans ramp up instantly. Now, if you really want to like release the beast in the damn vehicle, it's like, you know, turn up the power. It's not really going to hurt that much as long as you're not overclocking like a crazy ton. With my card, it definitely does allow me to do everything because it has so much freaking... That's like the saving grace with the Radeon 7s, is how much memory it has. And knowing what I can do instantly, a safe overclock. You have to click this one in order to get to the fine tuning. Let's see here. 2000 is safe. I know I love how it raises me down to 1999. I'm gonna bring up that power rating. That's perfect. I like that rating. Then bring this over just a little bit, just a smidge. 207 I feel like is a good rate. Bring it up. Not just a slight up. Not a lot. Just a slight up. And that feels like a comfy build for me. I feel like that will run pretty well. Alright, so let's go ahead and hit our fire strike and see if it even runs, because that would be the issue. Now, my assumption is this is going to run well. The only last few times I had that were like horrible overclockers was basically July's going to August, like their drivers were pretty bad. Like, it was really unstable, unfortunately, which makes me wonder what we're getting close to RDNA 2. Like, and once that's introduced, and we're basically, I feel like the very beginning of October, they're going to release some more information on what they're going to be doing along with the CPUs and how the ray tracing is going to be integrated into it, and like how maybe, you know, some of these older cards might be getting a little boost, almost like that NVIDIA one where they just turned up the heat because they're like, oh yeah, we had this all the time, and we're like, wait, what the hell? You've been ripping us off? It was a bad day. But it was a good day for a driver update. But looking at the ultimate end in this situation, I feel like AMD is decent in like the way they work. I feel like they just need a better PR team of like presentation for the representation of the cards, because maybe it's not that they have that ill intention, it's just that they don't have a more matured PR team that's going to be like, oh hey, cool, you know, how do we market this? You know, it's like, oh, let's get gamers. And it's like, no, that's not really a gamer card, you know. It's like you just need that person that knows the like equilibrium between the creation stations and, you know, the FPS stations. So, and there's like a lot of great creators out there nowadays. In fact, I think like, what was it, Gaming Nexus and one of his buddies, Bearded Hardware, they were doing some overclocking. I think they set a world record on the 3080, which is pretty cool, man. I'm glad to see some people ripping up some scores on 3D Mark. That means when we look at my score right now, it's going to be so tiny, so small. It's not even going to be, it's a minuscule like yesterday. I remember when I used to get like some damn good numbers. I was like putting, you know, was it numbers on charts? I was like, oh, sweet. I'm part of a small community, a niche community of technology. But hopefully this, like, yeah, this is running perfect. I don't even see any, like, tears across there, because that's how you can usually tell. That scene right there when it's looking down, you'll just see, like, this, like, huge tear. Oh, no, it crashed. Oh, this driver does not overclock well. Okay. It didn't hard crash, though. I appreciate that. I think I have a feeling I know what it is. Alright, so let's go ahead and roll this back. And give you 808. There we go. It was looking so darn good. Oh, the last one was actually pretty good. I actually liked the last driver for updates. It was pretty, yeah, 20.8.3 was pretty decent with the current Windows driver for overclocking. For an optional. But I mean, the 20.4.2 is always good, and I've been wanting to review the creators one, but I just feel like I should have, like, maybe that's when I should use Cinebench, but I feel like Cinebench isn't a great representation, but I'll figure it out. Like, I know that's definitely something that I wanted to do to represent, like, is this really worth the switch? Because they offer the OS alongside all the other 3 drivers now. Now this should hopefully be enough. I would be very disappointed if it crashed like prematurely in this, early stage. But I think it's fine. The only thing I do notice is that the FPS isn't as higher than I want, and that could just be because the simple reason it crashed. And it's needing a refresh. A lot of times, like when your GPU crashes like that, even lightly, it can run, but you always want to kind of refresh it, toggle the cache, basically, so that way it doesn't like trip the hell out, because usually when it trips the hell out, that's usually when you start running into these weird errors. So anytime anything weird happens, just reset the computer, see what happens. That's why people get paid on tech support to say turn off the computer and turn on the computer. I feel like that step one works about 50% of the time. But we'll get to see this. Hopefully this will, the 2000 I know will work. I mean, that's pretty much what I have it overclocked for my other computer while it's running computation tests for me. So it's currently on this driver doing wonders. So I just pushed it 7 over and probably curved the top of it just a little too much, where it just like overclocked and was just like, no, I can't run. Not done, son. But 2000's usually, like, from my experience, the decent equilibrium. I wouldn't say run it all the time. You might run into some errors here and there, depending on how you're running it. But wow. Okay, 20.9.1 is just kind of junky. Very clunky. It got a little bit farther though. I'll give it that much. Ooh. What kind of reset was this? This could have been like the final like leg off the table. Maybe it was running off one, cylinder less. Now it's running off a few other. Huh? Oh, look at that. It's coming back. No, it's like, damn it, I got this. Look at how bad that is. Oh my. Yeah, that's horrible. That like almost destroyed it. All right. Let's go ahead and refresh this real fast. Oh my gosh. I think I might have to reset the computer. Alright, let's reset the computer. We'll go with that. Meanwhile, in the bat cave. Oh yeah, that's the stream cave. But yeah, so pretty much what I would like to think while my computer is booting up and doing its thing, is that it's very strange that my other one can do that, but maybe it's just because it's leaning on a certain kernel the other way, which it goes by any game. It's like running Crysis versus running like, PUBG. There's going to be different kernels in the way that it's going to access certain things. So it's like, if you have these experiences, just like obviously where this failure of a situation happened with like the testing, you can always like bounce back with just like resetting the computer. Because like that's where I saw where I was like, okay, you're loading slow, you're not getting to the Adrenalin software. That's like 2 strikes. Oh, look at that. Look at, hey, it's coming in. Hey. Anyways, we'll try one more time and see what ends up happening. But I might have to rule this as a non-overclockable optional, which we might be seeing some cooler stuff on the... I mean, look how bad that is. It's like shifting. It's like, it's hurt. It's so hurt. Alright, let's turn this off. We don't need that. We just need this. Alright. Now that we're here, let's go ahead and bounce back. So instantly, at least it remembers stuff. So we conclusively tested that it remembers the fan setting, because before it used to trash it. Really, really badly trash it. This is where I'm hoping that maybe it might... Okay, so we're gonna have to default it. That way it runs back. Then go back to manual, restart it. I do like how it saved that though. Let's see if it runs on its native. All right. Let's see what we get here. Do we find that the overclock works? I don't know. My assumption is it's probably going to be rough. Even with like testing coming at that, the 2-band usually should work. So it's just, I'm already seeing intermittent issues. So I definitely agree with the community of people that are just like, this is not the best driver in the world, but I feel like a lot of drivers weren't the best in the world this month. Just a lot of just rush stuff. But there's a lot of stuff on the table. I mean, we have new architectures, we have brand new consoles, which is kind of cool because I ended up snagging like a PlayStation 5, so that's cool. Apparently they're humongous. People were saying that like compared to like the Xbox series, and then like you also have like the newer Wii console, it's ridiculous. It's like kind of a big deal, literally. It's pretty funny, but hopefully we'll be seeing some stuff that will work on this one. Let's see here. Okay, that's beautiful FPS. We've already hit over 100 and it's killing it. Last time it wasn't, so there was always some error code probably within that situation because like I mentioned, oh dear gosh. Okay, I'm just rolling it. You can't overclock this unless you just utilize the native one. This is bad. Yeah, I'm not even gonna like try to like tune that at that point in time. I'm just gonna come down to the conclusion to tell the community that unfortunately, this is not overclocking friendly. So stick to the 3 that they have branched on there. You should be fine, or go back to the render standard. Excuse me, a lot of the air quality in my like neck of the woods is finally starting to get better, so it's always congestion. At least that's what I felt like the last month. But it's definitely seeming like you can overclock it. Just stick to the native ones and then have the random standards. Hopefully we'll have a better one in the next one. If not, you can go back to the 20.8.3, and that does play well with overclocking. I've actually overclocked the crap out of that one, and it was pretty decent, at least for my card, for the Radeon 7, but I'm sorry, everyone. I was hoping for better results. Damn it. I was hoping 20.9.1 would have been, the prodigy. But that's why we host these episodes, to figure out if they're broken or if they're, tuned or not. But have a nice day, everyone. Stay tuned for the next episode. Hopefully we'll get into some mid-patch notes once we get some updates rolling down. Maybe that might fix the overclock. Who knows? That didn't work last time for, if I remember correct, 20.7.2. That one was shit, and then all of a sudden we got an undertone security update from Windows, and all of a sudden it started magically overclocking. So stay tuned for that. If you're new to the network, you can always subscribe absolutely free. Helps me out as a creator, and I'll see you guys and gals in the near future.